For more on how Spotify and other platforms are dealing with COVID misinformation and other content issues, I'm joined by Seth Schachner. Did I get the name right?
Yeah, Schachner.
Schachner, and he is a managing director at a consulting firm, Stride Americas. Welcome to the program. Thanks very much. I want to get right into it. In the U.S., one of the cherished rights is that of free speech. I mean, you can't run into a theater and yell fire, but there's a lot of leeway. But misinformation on COVID has really hit a nerve with a lot of people. Are you surprised to see a major battle play out on Spotify?
It's a little surprising, sure, because, Spotify, their place in the world has mostly been about audio, music streaming, if you will, artists and music. And I wouldn't say it's been the most active, platform, media platform otherwise that has been social in nature. It's always been a little distinct in my mind from some of the other platforms, but they've really diversified their product, and they're trying to, I think, tilt pretty heavily towards podcasting. There's some video initiatives on it as well, and they really are a media platform, not just a pure tech platform. So in that light, it's not terribly surprising.
It's interesting to see kind of lightning in a bottle right now, and there's a feeling among many that musicians and podcasters do have a responsibility when it comes to COVID info. To what degree do you think this could possibly be a watershed moment or lead to certain changes?
I mean, look, I think they both have some responsibility. Every artist wants their fan base to be healthy and happy, if you will. So I don't think there's a particular issue there. At the same time, I don't know if this is such a big watershed moment, in the way it's being propped up to be. The artists that are involved here are certainly cultural icons from a different era. Mm-hmm. I come with a background in the music industry, and they're not what are called frontline artists. So I see the effects, barring some kind of parade of loads of artists and other interests kind of defecting. I don't think it'll be a big watershed. I think Spotify itself, and Eck has kind of made this clear, is trying to kind of intermediate and find a middle ground between moderating and being responsible for their content and also free speech. So,
yeah, I agree with you, cultural icons, and I don't want to say that they've had their time, but certainly they're not like the people that are really moving music right now. But big time entertainers and songwriters are really known for huge egos, and I hate to say that, but is this Neil Young using his platform to make a stand, or perhaps a roaring icon?
I think he's making a stand. I think he's someone that a lot of folks respect artistically, and I think some of the others are as well. So I don't think there's any doubt about their motives. But I think when you look at kind of the ecosystem of music and how it's changed, or streaming and audio in general,
right,
there's just such a ton of stuff that's developed. It's a little bit like echo out there in the canyon. You can get the music on Amazon or Apple or plenty of other places, and there's hosts of issues throughout all these platforms. So to me, it's a little bit kind of watered down or diluted by that. But of course, there's responsibility for this information and for responsible content production throughout the ecosystem. Absolutely.
Now, moving on, let's talk about how COVID is affecting shows, concerts. Some are still being scrapped, and that has people wondering why, if we're moving in the right direction.
Well, again, firstly, there's no one single party or interest to blame. When you look at the live kind of entertainment ecosystem, which is really different than the one we just talked about,
yeah,
I think everyone is kind of doing their part to bring it back. And it's a pandemic, and there's things like indoor venues and outside factors and people's willingness to come back that are going to affect it in some way. So I don't think there's any one kind of party to point to, but I do think that last year was a much better year for live entertainment. I think we've seen a blip with Omicron. Hopefully that'll go away. And I think, the real kind of folks in the mix that are actually getting hurt, or really most on the line, are the ones that aren't in the headlines, the ones that are like working on crews and concerts and making things happen. And,
right.
And that's what's really behind a lot of these cancellations. So.
And then you have a 51-year-old entertainer who calls himself Kid. He's going out of his way to turn his nose up at vaccinations, booster shots, and masks. Kid Rock's saying he won't play venues that demand such. What's up with that?
I mean, look, I think some of that is, on the margins, if you will, because I think if you look at the big interest, everyone from artists to Live Nation and AEG and venues, the large majority of them have some type of COVID measures in place, whether it's masks or certainly when you buy your ticket, you check in at the arena, vaccination proof. So So you look, there's always going to be things like that that are in the mix, but I don't see that as kind of the mainstream of what folks are trying to do. And I think concerts hopefully will come back on stream in a big way, and that we've already seen encouraging signs of that. And I'd also add there's something called live streaming that just popped up last year during COVID that I think will also be part of the landscape too. So hopefully it all adds up in a positive way, and we'll be back on track with live entertainment.
I'm a huge fan of live music. Let's get it back in a healthy way as soon as possible. I want to thank you, Seth Schachner, Managing Director of Strat Americas. Thanks for coming in. We appreciate it.
Thank you.